Can you guys see the whole presentation? I don't use Zoom much, so I hope you guys can see it. I'm just messaging the group. Let me know if you can see my full screen. Okay, cool. All right, so let's start. My name is Rizan. The topic today will be bug bounties for fun and profit. This is my second time presenting for EG. Last one was done a few years back, I believe. Without further ado, let's go through some of the slides that I have. Now, firstly, the topic of bug bounties, why do I do it? Firstly and foremost is for fun, learning and profit in that order. Also, it opens up career opportunities. I started bug bounty hunting not too long ago. I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be an expert. There are many people out there who have far more experience and better than me. I'm 42 years old. I've been in IT security for over 20 years, but I've suddenly turned a U-turn and made my way back to doing technical, how do I say, technical assessments or penetration testing about 5 years ago, mainly because I was burned out with the management line. I felt that this wasn't what I want to do, and I was looking for my passion, and I found that doing or I would say hacking would have been my passion. It's just that I did not have the courage to take that up when I was younger. So I'm a late bloomer. I have to say, in terms of bug bounty hunting, I've started and I learned from a person. His name is Jubair. I'm not sure if he's on the call right now. He's actually my young guru who taught me a lot. He's from Bangladesh, from Dhaka. He's studying in Malaysia, just finished his studies in Apit. He's quite an accomplished bug bounty hunter, reputation points over 3,000 plus. He has quite notable findings, and I would highly recommend that Jubair will be given room to present during the next presentation. Jubair, if you're in the room, can you give a shout out? Nope, he's not in the room, unfortunately. He mentioned that he might be late. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic. Now, I'm not sure if any of you have done, I'm sure some of you might have delved into some bug bounty platforms. There are a few out there. These are just the four top ones that I've dealt with. On the top is HackerOne, as everyone knows, is the most popular but competitive platform. Some people find this platform too competitive that they don't enjoy hacking here because it's meant for a certain class of people. As you know, the HackerOne or the bug bounty community is quite closely knit, and you have to gain certain reputation points in order to receive private invites. And it's pretty much a chicken and egg issue, because if you don't have enough points, you don't get private invites, and therefore you are stuck with public programs which are way tougher to hack. And the triages that are working on HackerOne, they are not necessarily the kindest people of all. So most people tend to get turned away, turned off by starting bug bounty hunting, because it's fairly difficult at first. But once you make your way, as your reputation points increase, you find that you get more invitation, more private invites, and therefore it gets slightly easier. And especially when your name is up there, people know what you're doing, they take you more seriously. There are other platforms like Buckroute, which I also highly recommend. Is a friendlier platform. They don't deduct points from you unnecessarily, whereas HackerOne, if you submit invalid report, they do deduct points, and your reputation points drop further. It's more difficult for you to submit valid reports. I also delve with Yes We Hack, another European-based bug bounty platform, which is quite okay. I got 1 or 2 accepted bugs there, not much. It's less competitive than HackerOne and Bugcrowd. Lastly but not, you have SyncAct, which is an invite-only platform, quite elite in the sense that you have to pass an interview and a short hands-on CTF task exercise in order to qualify to be part of the team. But I think it's all hype in my opinion. It's just to get people on board and show that you're part of an elite team, but actually it's nothing much. I don't like it. The VPN is very slow. Sometimes I feel all these platforms they have, there's a sense of elitism in there, because you have to be part of, you have to show part of your kung fu before you can get accepted into a certain group or class of people. But that's not actually what we should be striving for. Yeah. Bug Bounty, I notice, is much of a competition-based event where people actually compete to be the first and unique bug reported in order to gain reputation and monetary gains. I'll talk a bit about that later. So a lot of people ask me, how much can I make doing bug bounties? I wanted to release some of the figures I made, but then I thought that I should not do that. That's a bit personal, especially to a large range of audience right here. But what I can tell you is that depending on how good you are and also your luck, a lot of it is to do with luck too, because as you compare traditional penetration testing and bug bounties are different, very different in the sense that bug bounty platforms, you have thousands of pen testers doing the same thing that you are doing. So if you submit a bug that is not unique, that's duplicated, you're not gonna get anything. So that's why I say sometimes it's also luck and skill, being at the right place and the right time, finding things that people did not find. I believe the main thing that bug bounties can also provide you is career opportunities, because with the public profile that you create, as you know, when you collect reputation points, it's all displayed publicly. You can choose to display publicly, and this speaks volumes about your skill, your penetration testing skill, because you are not only competing against other hackers out there, but it shows that you're above quite a number of people. So a lot of companies nowadays, they are expecting penetration testers to also have bug bounty experience other than CTFs or maybe some CVEs in your portfolio. So I say bug bounties is a great opportunity for you to show your skill set and open some doors out there for you. What are the common types of bugs that I found? I have a small breakdown here. It's not very accurate. I took this directly from my profile. It's mainly an OWASP top 10 breakdown. It's not complete again, but if you can see the figures here, a lot of my findings are in the broken authentication and broken access control segment. I mainly choose these two profiles. I mean, these two, how do I say, categories, mainly because the impact is pretty high. I try to report the higher impact ones, and the lesser impact ones, I leave it out, because many times it's a duplicate, and I don't want to waste my reputation points or my time submitting duplicates. So I try to work for the big ones. Other stuff that well, I found a small amount of cross-site scripting and a lot of injection attacks. Injection attacks such as SQL, command injection, RCEs. Those stuff are also considered very high severity that can fetch you quite a number of reputation points and also score you some big bounties. Are there any specific examples that I can share? Now, this is a bit of a touchy subject here, because not many bug hunters would share you their POC. I'll tell you why in a minute. But one of the top reasons behind that is actually to do with the NDA. As you know, when you report a bug, after the report has been accepted and triaged, it actually belongs to the program owner, and you as a researcher no longer have the rights to publish or publicize the bugs without their explicit permission. And that's why it's pretty hard for me to share some of the really high impact ones, because most of the companies do not allow the the disclosure. I have a question coming in here. Let me see if I can pick it up. Ralph, can you relay a question in audio? I can't find the question. Are you there?
Hello, Bang. Hello, sorry.
Yes. Yeah, no problem. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
There are people are waiting to join the session, but they need the approval from you. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. There are a bit some people. Okay, that's all.
All right. Thanks for telling me that. There's so many of them that I have not allowed in.
So sorry. Okay.
No problem.
Please continue. Sorry to interrupt you, sir.
No problem.
All right.
Hi guys, for those of you who just joined, I'm sorry about that. I forgot that I had to admit people into the meeting. Okay, hang on. Okay, I think we have there will be people waiting, and I'm not sure how I can keep admitting them. All right, so I guess I just have to continue, and those people who are waiting, they would have to wait because I can't keep letting people in like this. I should have left the meeting open, but that's my fault. Okay, so for those of you who just joined, I'm sorry, but you might have missed out quite a fair bit of content already, but I'll continue anyway. So yeah, I was talking about the NDA stuff and sort of like that. I think you know the drill, and any pen test projects that you work on, it's the same like bug bounties. You can't necessarily share this information with everyone, but what I can do is I have a couple, well, only two reports that were made public recently, and they are published on my HackerOne profile over here. This is consented by the program owner, therefore I can freely share it. And the first one is with regards to an SSL Pulse SSL exploit that was founded by Orange Sai in 2019. As I'm not sure if you heard of it, some of you might have heard of it back in DEF CON, was it 2019? He dropped a pretty big finding about the Pulse SSL issue, whereby people can gain remote access into any SSL VPN endpoint, pre-authenticated. Not many people realized his finding until he actually publicized that he won $20,000 from Twitter for reporting that bug. And there was a 2-week period between his initial report and his publicized HackerOne report. And in that 2 weeks, actually, no one realized that there are millions or hundreds or thousands of devices out there that were impacted. Only after that, people started scurrying, scanning the internet for open SSL bugs. By then, it was a bit too late. I also found out about it a bit too late. And when I started scanning, I first reported it back then, but it was a dupe. Didn't get anything out of it. But what happened was in 2020, just this year in May, there was a report made by, was it US CERT? They mentioned that a lot of hackers were still exploiting the SSL bug, mainly because a lot of companies did, well, they did upgrade the system, they did patch it, but they missed very critical remediation, which is to change the passwords. Because the hackers that hacked the system in 2019, they actually extracted the hashes. And because of that, they still have access into the system. So when I read this report, I quickly went back to my 2019 report and said, and tested those credentials that I harvested in 2019. And I said, hey, look, I still have access and it's 2020 right now. So this was a report they accepted and they quickly patched it. So it was a US military recruiting website, and I could see all the recruits' PII data, like their home address, university, phone number, and such. So it was rated as critical. Another bug that was publicized by them also after I reported it was with regards to a social networking website belonging to the US DoD. I'm not going to go too much into detail because I think this report you can read on your own. I'll pass the slide back after this. It's basically an IDOR bug I found where I could reset anyone's email address. Basically, I can take over their account by resetting the recovery email address. A lot of information is redacted here, but there's enough information for you to understand, hopefully, how the bug was found. I don't think exploiting the bug was difficult, but finding the right system to exploit is way more difficult because you have to do a lot of reconnaissance work. And I think recon is something that maybe we can discuss in a separate topic because it's something that's very important, but a very vast topic. So I'd like to move back to the slide because I only have like 20 minutes left, and I'd like to cover a bit more of practical examples of what I've discovered in bug bounties. But before that, I'd like to point out on some tips. I remember someone did ask how to avoid duplicates. If any of you have delved into bug bounties, you are bound to hit duplicates most of the time, mainly because duplicates are, well, you are looking for the same thing that hundreds or thousands of people out there are also looking. And that's what makes bug bounty so challenging. In a typical pen test project, you might have maybe 3 or 4 pen testers, and the chances of getting a duplicate between you and your friend, yeah, it's there, but it's only 3 of you compared to having 1,000 of people looking at the same program. So one way to avoid duplicates, for me personally, is to try to avoid popular programs. I try not to hit the really big ones because I know a lot of people are in that program. So public programs that are available, I don't know, maybe like Grab, for example, Amazon is there, Spotify is there. Those are all examples of public programs, but they are very crowded because everyone starts with public programs. I did mention that only after you have built reputation points, you will start getting private invites. And that's where it gets a bit easier because there are less people in the private invites. Second, but not least, something I've learned from my young mentor, Jubairi. If you are here, let me see if I need to enter more people into the room. Okay. Yep. As my young mentor did teach me, you have to be creative. Now, when you submit a bug, if you are looking for the same bug, cross-site scripting or RCEs, you are doing it the same way like most people are doing, very likely you'll fall into the same trap, which is duplicates. So you have to be creative in the sense that you don't look for the same thing. Look for something different, business logic flaws, for example, which I will cover in the next slide. Third, very important is self-research. There are a lot of information pertaining reports that are publicized, like the ones I showed you, the 2 examples. There are thousands of examples out there on HackerOne, BugCrowd, and various blogs. You have to read all those reports and try to understand and try to improvise those reports. Some of the reports can be reused. Many of the reports can be reused to find the same bugs, but you need to find ways to improvise a bit because it won't work word for word, right? Fourth is very important, is to never give up. If you hit 10 duplicates today, maybe tomorrow you might hit one valid bug. It happened to me many times. I felt like quitting, and I even spoke to Jubairi about it, but he said, no, you should not quit. You should keep trying. And yeah, he was right. And after I kept trying, because at one point of time my reputation points went down so bad, below 200 or 300. I wanted to stop, but then I kept going, and yeah, I hit about 1,000+ points now. But I stopped recently for some other reason, because I'm focusing on some other research. It's important to not tire yourself, not to burn yourself out. A lot of people are competing against each other, so it can become a bit addictive. People try to climb the ladder and they forget about the world, and they think that bug bounties are everything, and that's where you get trapped and stuck in this bubble, and it's very bad for your health, your mental health and your physical health. So never give up, but at the same time practice work-life balance. The 5th point is very important, is to get on Twitter. A lot of the researchers are on Twitter. If you follow one of them, you will most likely see others, and there are quite a number of big names there. I don't have to mention them. Just follow a few of them, and you will see what I'm talking about. Because the big names, or the I would say the famous researchers, they will drop findings from time to time. Some of them don't, most of them don't. But sometimes even the smaller guys, newcomers, they also drop a couple of findings, experiences, and you kind of learn from them. Some of them are fake news, be careful, but most of them are quite reliable sources of information. So yeah, get on Twitter. That's very important. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, so what types of bugs should I look out for? This is quite an interesting question, because I ask myself many times too. This is the kind of stuff that I look out for, right? Business logic bugs. Business logic bugs are basically processes that went wrong. For example, dual sign up options using SNS. SNS stands for social networking sites. You see some websites where you can sign up with Facebook. At the same time, you can also sign up using username and password, the traditional login. So I'm not going to make it very obvious for you, but you can see where it can go wrong here, because you have one option, you have FB, another option, you have email and password. And sometimes the email and password registration process doesn't have a complete verification process. And if you put one and one together, you can sort of like get authentication or account squatting bypass there. This bug is around. You can Google it, and you understand what I'm saying. Again, I don't want to share too much information, because I think it's a lot to do with your own findings, your own initiative of looking out for bugs. The information is out there. You must just know how and where to look for it. Other traditional bugs that we usually find are very similar to pen testing. You have your IDORs, your XSS, authentication bugs, your injection like SQL. But one interesting bug at the bottom there is the cross-domain referral leaks. This is fairly common, but usually a dupe. It was pretty good if I say last year, where I scored quite a number of bounties for that. But right now, I think it is just everywhere. I'll show some examples of the cross-domain referral leaks in the next slides. SQL injections are pretty high up in the severity and bounties. If you can spot this, you can give a simple POC for maybe like a sleep statement. where you show the database has hung for 0.5 seconds or something, or you can exfiltrate data from the database, that will usually fetch you a fairly good amount of bounties and reputation points. For the blind SQL injection attack techniques, I would say it's easier to find if you have a white box testing approach, meaning you have the access to the source code, which is what I'm currently working on right now, is trying to improve my white box testing and less focus on the black box testing. Majority of the programs available on bug bounties nowadays are black box. However, there are a handful of programs out there that offer source code review. You can search on HackerOne, especially. There are quite a number of programs out there, and sorry about that. And I try to pick out this white box testing more than the black box, because I feel that black box testing is a bit crowded. A lot of people are doing black box, whereas white box testing you involve code reviews and sometimes a bit of coding on your side. There are less number of people doing that, and therefore less likelihood of getting a duplicate entry. So I always try to do things that are slightly different or slightly more niche than what most people are doing, just in the hopes of scoring a valid bug. I also mentioned about authentication bugs. Look for flaws in the way the social networking sites are used for authentication. Again, this is something like the business logic bug I mentioned to you over at the top here. What I'm referring on the authentication bugs for SNS, as you know, there are some sites that use OAuth authentication, where you can either log in using FB, Google, or I don't know, Discord or Twitch or anything like that. So you're basically using the authentication mechanism or your profile on the social networking website to gain access into the resource on the server. And there are times where there are flaws in that mechanism. I won't be covering this. This is a bit of a research on my side too. I know some people know about it, but unfortunately I can't share this information. This is a pretty high severity bug for some sites that do not implement OAuth authentication correctly. And it usually leads to a total authentication bypass for any user on the system. Cross-site scripting and IDORs, I don't think I need to cover this. A lot of you might know about it. For IDORs, I do recommend to use Burp Authorized plugin. It's a plugin available for Burp Suite. I'm not sure if the community version has it, but the professional version certainly has it. You can download it and learn how to use it. And it really helps you in scanning a website with multiple users for authorization bugs. Now, we come to a very important question here, and is with regards to if bug hunters out there are willing to share their POC. Now, when I first started my bug bounty journey, was pretty tough. I mentioned that a lot of my submission were either invalid, or a lot of them were duplicates, and I felt really demotivated to a point where I did not want to continue anymore. That's until I've met Jubair. Again, credits to him, and he was a bit different in the sense that one of the few people that was willing to impart very crucial knowledge to me. After that, I did collaborate with a couple of other bug hunters out there. Some of them were quite high level, really high up in the reputation points, but unfortunately, most of them do not want to share techniques, TTPs with me unless I have something to share with them. So this is a give and take thing. You might get played out. If you share something, he might not want to share something, and vice versa. So to be on the safe side, I don't think there are many bug hunters out there who are willing to share their POCs. Why? It's pretty simple. Is to avoid duplicates. Remember, this is also a competition. Yeah, you have to be the first and unique bug submitter, else you get nothing. So I know some guys who are doing this full time. A particular bug hunter in Singapore, which is I think he's in the top 100 or top 10, I can't remember. He earned over $200,000 USD within like a year plus. This is what he claims. I don't doubt that because I know the top 1% percentile of the bug bounty hunters in the world are millionaires. But this is very rare, and I don't think anyone can achieve it that easy. And even if they do, you can be sure these people are not going to share a lot of their TTPs. The ones that are sharing out there, there are a handful of them. The community is pretty closely knit, like I mentioned. Naham Sak, one of the top bug hunters out there, he's also a presenter, a frequent presenter, and how they say, he puts together a lot of community-driven presentation on Twitch every few months. But what I noticed, or what I suspect, is that yeah, they are sharing information, but again, it's not explicit. There are some things that they are not allowed to share, maybe due to the NDA, maybe due to competitiveness. So you're not gonna get wholehearted answers from anyone. You might get certain very vital information that can help you piece together puzzles, but you still have to do your own research. Now I come to the important bits here. These are the practical examples that I would like to share with you. Again, these are examples, real life examples that I can share, that I don't think I'm neglecting any NDAs or disputing anyone. However, again, this is just a guide for you. It's not explicit. So let's start with a command injection bug that I found in a typical web pen test I did in one of the bounties. Now, this was pretty straightforward. If you look at the website, it's very basic. I don't think exploiting the bug was rocket science, but finding the endpoint, finding the vulnerable endpoint was the tough part. They had a very large scope, I think a /24/16 IP address range. But I stumbled upon this particular little website here that looked very rudimentary, and I signed myself up. And what I found was that in the edit account function, where the username, the first name and the last name can be defined by the user, what I noticed is that if I put forward slashes and a Unix command called ID, and I save this this profile, and then I click on a particular project that or entry that I created in the system, what happens next did really surprise me, because the command that I inserted inside the username in the previous slide was actually executed by the operating system. Let me show you. Okay, this was the confirm button that I had to click after I click on the entry. Oops. Okay, and what I noticed is that when after the command has been clicked and I inspected the output in burp, was that I found the ID command was actually executed by the operating system. So you can see here the UID that I gained privilege was UID2. And this kind of surprised me. So this is actually quite, it was rated critical. And yeah, I submitted the report, and it wasn't a duplicate, fortunately. I think the reason why it wasn't a duplicate was because the endpoint, the website, the vulnerable website in concern, in question, was not easily found. So I guess to find vulnerable websites within a scope, it's a skill itself. It's called recon. So your recon skills, if it's good and if luck is on your side, you find the right website that no one has tested before, yeah, you're very likely to find a bug, as opposed to a website that is out there on the front page, and you know many people have already tested it. You're not going to find it, and even if you find a valid bug and you submit it, most likely you'll be a dupe. In this case, the website was so deep inside the /16 IP address range that I happened to find it, and also the fact that this program was a private program. an invite sent to me, and not many hackers were invited in that program, mainly because this program did not pay money. So that's the thing. I also like to choose programs that don't pay payouts. If you go for programs that give large payouts, or even sometimes small amounts, they might attract more hackers. Yeah, the larger the payout, definitely the more high-level hackers will be attracted to that program. For this program in particular, I believe there was no payout, but it was just reputation points, and I needed to earn reputation points to gain more invites so that I can, get more reports in and hopefully get some payouts in the future. So this is one of the bugs. So again, it was, if you look back at the slide here, first page, it was just a command injection attack, a command injection attack. Just so happened that I saw it reflected in the first name and the last name, and I decided to put a command, a Unix command, with fun quotes. I call this correctly, fun quotes. And yeah, just save my my profile, click on the entry, and next thing I click confirm, and then I check at the back end. I got command injection. So this is reputation, about 32 reputation points there. Now I'll move on to the next bug. Well, I need to let people in. Okay, I think I let everyone in. Excuse me that. Now I'm moving on to the next bug. This is with regards to a serialization issue I found. Again, this was pretty simple to pick out. The fact that I was using Burp Scanner. In Burp, there are many add-ons that you can find. Again, the exploitation was rather straightforward. I just found the insertion point. The keyword that gave it away was the Java X faces view state. Now, if any of you have read about the Java X faces view state, there's a serialization flaw here. When I saw that, I quickly double-clicked on the insertion point, and I sent it to the scanner, and the scanner confirmed that this is actually a serialized payload here that can be sent to the server. You can see on the right side here, it was flagged as potentially vulnerable for Apache Commons Collection 3 twice over here. And that is a dead giveaway already. Again, exploiting is not difficult, but finding the endpoint that had this particular bug was the difficult part. How I did that, again, that's the recon state where you go through multiple IP addresses within the scope using various tools or techniques. Sometimes via dorking, via some sublister, some tool like that, to identify the correct endpoint within the scope of the program. And once you find that, it's a matter of luck sometimes, and you find that using the correct tools to identify the bug, you can begin exploiting. So the next thing I did was use the command, the commons collection gadget to execute a simple host command, DNS query using the host command to a Burp collaborator endpoint over here. If any of you have used Burpsy, I'm pretty sure you have seen this before. So what happens is that I'm sending a serialized payload to the vulnerable server in the hopes that it will execute the DNS lookup for my Burp collaborator URL over here. And as pretty much, I guess it responded. And over here, you can see the multiple DNS entries coming out from that particular server. The IP address I had to redact for obvious purpose. But you can see that the server actually did a DNS lookup for my particular endpoint here, therefore confirming the fact that the serialization bug did exists on the system, and therefore I can practically use Java, Java gadget to execute commands within the realm of the operating system. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a reverse shell or anything because the firewall was blocking. Only DNS packets were coming out, but it wasn't coming out from the particular server. It was relaying through another server. So therefore, I couldn't get a reverse shell. But what I did was I planted a little flag here. Just a little entry echo. This box has been pawned to TMP reason.txt. And then I just wrote a short report, send it to the program owner, and ask the owner to check if that file has been created in TMP, and he confirmed it, and therefore reputation points and bounty if there was a bounty for this. Now I'm moving to the next bug that I spoke about, the cross-domain referral leaks earlier. This was pretty much a very common bug I found during my earlier days. When I say earlier days, it wasn't too long ago. It was just last year. This happens whenever you have a website that have a built-in analytics. So, for example, if you browse to a website that has Google or Facebook analytics built into it, and when you do sensitive operations such as reset passwords, what happens is that the website will mistakenly send the reset token to the analytics server. So in this example, for example, here you see Facebook has just received a reset password token for this particular domain, which I had redacted here. And this is pretty common because, like I said, people build analytics into websites and don't realize that every click that you make on the website is actually shared with Facebook or Google for analytical purposes. And sometimes even sensitive operations like password resets get cached and sent off to those sites. And if I did not complete the password reset, this token will remain valid for a particular amount of time. And therefore, anyone who has access to Facebook's analytics will be able to use this full URL to reset my password. So this is actually an acceptable bug in HackerOne. For other programs, they might not or might accept it. It depends. Different programs have different expectations. Bugcrowd doesn't accept this kind of bugs, but HackerOne does. Again, there are a lot of duplicates on this already, so your luck might vary. This is another example. I think it's, okay, I did not redact the website. Anyway, okay, so it's the same thing, password reset token has been leaked for this particular website to Google Analytics. It's a small bug, I believe it's already fixed. My bad for not completely redacting the program, but now you know. There's another bug here I like to highlight, unauthenticated or unauthorized API leaks leading to information disclosure. As you know, there are a lot of websites nowadays using APIs with JSON outputs. If you notice something wrong about this query on the left side here, the get API users search query does not have any cookies. So without a cookie, I can actually query this endpoint and return results. Now, if you report such bugs, sometimes they might decline this report because they say the information provided or leaked by the API is not PII, it's not sensitive. In my case, it was sensitive. I'm not sure why, but they deem this information as sensitive. In fact, I don't think it was sensitive. But anyway, they accepted it. I think was a $300 payout for this. So it's your luck. You have to look at case by case basis. Some information that get leaked might be considered PII to them. Some might not. In this case, they felt that this information should not have been already available on an endpoint that does not contain cookies, because the cookie is authenticated cookies. You only get the cookies after you authenticate. In this example, I removed the cookies, but I'm still able to query the website and I return back JSON output. So this is something you can look for whenever you see endpoint with JSON output. You can try to curate, remove the cookies, and see if you still get a response. If you get the same response, then you know it's unauthorized or unauthenticated endpoint leaking information. Now I'm reaching to the, I'm reaching to the last bug I found. I hope I still have time. I think I'm running out of time, so I'll go really quick on this one. This is a password reset token issue. It's a particular website where if you change your email address, a particular email address, when you do a password reset, it should send to a new email address. So take a look at the current email address, rootpgp +5. I change it to +6, right? Is reflected over here on the right side. The email address has been changed to rootpgp +6. Now, when I perform a password, forgot password reset, it should send to rootpgp +6 at wearehacker1.com. But what I found out was, when I received the reset email, it was actually pointing to rootpgp +4. It was an earlier email address that I have inserted. So you can see this is a flaw in the password reset. No, I would say the email update for the password reset function. It's supposed to send to rootpgp 6, but it sent to 4. So these are the kind of bugs that you can try to look, small severity bugs that will pay out at least $100, maybe, yeah, maybe more, depending on the program. So I believe that's all I have. I'm not sure how much time I have, maybe a few more minutes before the Zoom ends. I'm willing to take any questions, any feedback from any of you. You can go on audio if you want.
Hello, can you hear?
Hi, yeah.
Hi. One question. How you get courage to start the bug bounty?
Oh, how to get the courage? I didn't have much courage. In fact, I felt like you know I felt like I wasn't ready for it, and you know, stuff like that. But I told myself, screw it. You know, I just want to learn something. I wanted to make some side income also. I noticed I think money was one of my main motivators, because I know the ringgit to the USD is pretty big, the exchange rate. So even if I win like $50 or $100, it's already 400 ringgit. So I thought, what the heck, just do it, you know. But I did get discouraged along the way, and that's when I found my little seafood there. I'm not sure he's still not on the call, Jubairi, if you're there. And that changed a lot, because I finally found people that were willing to share information with me. I know it's very intimidating. It's like a little, it's like high school. You know, you have to be part of a clique. You know, to gain entry into the elite class of people. But I think it's all bullshit. I try not to think like that, and I just do it. And I don't care what people say. So I started writing blogs. I started tweeting. You know, so far I've not got any negative feedback. A lot of people appreciate what I share. I never claim that I'm an expert or anything, but I learn from people half my age. I'm 42, I told you. So there's no harm in learning things, and I feel that by learning new things, I'm strengthening, making myself better.
Okay. For the second question that I'm going to ask is, what do you think if a new beginner going straight full time as a bug bounty?
Oh,
It is
that's a, go
okay.
ahead.
Okay. What do you think we can do it as a
Yeah.
to survival? Mm.
That's a very good question. In fact, I pondered on that question too. But I wouldn't attempt it unless you have you don't have much responsibilities, no overheads, no anak bini, sorry, no wife and kids to take care of. I think you can, but it's gonna be tough because you don't get paid unless you find a valid bug. But again, if you're young, you have not much responsibilities, no BMW to pay for. Yes, go ahead, do it. I would do it if I had a lot of money. Unfortunately, I don't.
Okay. There is another question on the chat
Yeah,
lah, from Aryan.
yeah, please.
Aryan.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. So because we got so many platform for bug bounty, right?
Uh-huh.
So what do you think of a good starting
Good
platform
starting
for
point.
bug bounty?
I would, it depends on what you want. I think HackerOne has improved a lot. They no longer deduct points for certain reports, for duplicates especially, but for invalid reports, they still deduct points. But they are by far the fastest triages compared to the other platforms. Other one to try out is Bugcrowd. But I think either between Bugcrowd or HackerOne is a good start. If you want to try, yes, we hack or integrity is also there, but the user interface is not very friendly. Personally, I would go for HackerOne because it's very famous. And if you get your portfolio out there, if your reputation points hit over 1,000, 3,000, 7,000 points, it really makes a lot of difference because you can show in your CV that you have this profile under you, and a lot of companies will be interested. I actually hit interest from AWS in the US. Unfortunately, I didn't pass the interview, but they were interested in me because of the bug bounties. My little Sifu out there, he was also he got an interview from Facebook also because of his bug bounties. So it opens up a lot of doors. So yeah, I say HackerOne would be the go-to platform if you ask me.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Any more questions?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Just asking only, how long to focus on one platform to find a bug?
Okay.
It is
Yeah, so there are various ways of going about it. One way is one tactic is to look for a particular bug that you are comfortable with. So if you, for example, you're an expert, if you think that you are comfortable in SQL injection, right? And you just go and hunt for SQL injection in all the platforms. I mean, all the programs. You don't stay for long. So you go to one program, you try for 1 hour, and then you cannot find, you go to the next one. You go to the next one, and you go to the next one until you find that particular bug. So that's one way of it. Another way is to deep dive into one program for many days. So for example, if I get a white box testing where I have to look through the code, I can spend maybe 1 week on it, 5 days, for example. So it's up to you. What's your approach? But if you spend too much time on one program and you don't find anything, you might get disappointed and then you lose interest. But if you are good at finding cross-site scripting, which is fairly reasonably easy to find, then you just go and find cross-site scripting in 10 programs within 1 hour, for example. So you don't demotivate yourself so much. You just, the more you hit, the more likely you might find something. It's like playing Russian roulette. In Malay, they call it tikam.
okay. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
I asked a question. So for beginners, right, would you ask them to use Burp Suite Community or use Zap?
I would stick to Burp Suite. I've used Zap a bit, but I find it not very intuitive. Burp Suite is pretty good. There are a lot of instructions out there. And also there are plugins for Burp Suite.
Yeah, but most of the usable plugins are for like a professional version.
Yeah, I
So
noticed that.
For people using Burp Suite Community, what's your tips, for them?
For Burp Suite,
so they have money to buy license.
yeah, a lot of people ask that question too. I think the community version is pretty okay because the plugins are not very important if you ask me. The important ones are the intruder and the repeater and the proxy function. So those are the three functions that you'll be mainly using. The difference is that the professional is a bit faster when you do intruder. So when you do a brute force, for example, it's faster, it doesn't throttle. But I think you can get away with Burp Suite Community full time. It shouldn't be a problem.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi.
Yeah.
So there's while we are in the burp things, so I want to ask a question about what kind of plugins that you use. Mean your favorite plugin that you use for this kind of
Yeah.
things.
For the IDOR bugs, I use authorize. Let me show you that slide. It's called authorize. There it is. There, you see this? Authorize. AUTORIZE. This is one of my favorite for IDORs. And for serialization, I can't remember the name, but it's in one of the slides here. Yeah, it's this one. I think I can't recall, but maybe I'll post it in the group after this. I need to find the name.
Nice.
Again, back to the first question about going bug hunting full time. I would strongly suggest for people who are young adults who have less responsibilities to get started full time rather than people like me who have 10 kids and 4 wives. I'm just kidding. I'm just saying that yeah, start young, and who knows, you might make that $1 million. I mean, if you make say 100,000 USD is 400,000 ringgit already. I mean, that Singaporean guy is a millionaire in Malaysia, if you ask me. It's not impossible. I think if you put in the time, it is possible. You can make that amount. Any more questions on me?
Hello, Assalamualaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Have you have a tip or guide for the beginner to start on learning the bug bounty?
Yeah. So the tip I would say is to just do it. There are a lot of reading material. One material is the Web Hacking 101 by Peter Jaworski, if I pronounce his name correctly. It's on my blog. I can post that shortly. That book, I believe, is a good start, but indefinitely you have to start getting your hands dirty. So no amount of reading can replace anything. No amount of certification also. I think certification will help, like offset certification, OSWE, even OSCP and all those stuff do prepare you for bug hunting and pen testing. But important thing is to get yourself doing it actually. So sign up for a Bugcrowd or HackerOne, choose a program and get started, and be prepared to to fail and then keep trying. So that is my advice.
Okay, thank you so much.
Welcome.
I have another questions regarding on before you starting this bug bounties. How long have you been in the security? I mean, before doing this.
In IT security, before I started bug bounty, that was about just a year plus ago. But I've been doing IT security since 2002. 2000 actually. I started off as a firewall analyst at Shell IT. But a lot of my job was on the blue side. And then I started doing compliance work and management, vendor management. So I wasn't doing pen testing for only, I think the last 5 years, I started pen testing again. So it's not that much time actually. I'm considered a beginner, maybe intermediate level the most. So I believe bug bounty hunting, you don't need much experience. I think within a framework of 1 or 2 years full time, it's possible for you to be very good at it. Okay, I think we are at the top of the hour. So before Zoom will kick me out, I'd like to thank all of you for joining this call. It was a real pleasure. I hope I managed to share some important, well, useful tips, not important, but useful tips I would like for you guys to pay forward by also sharing your knowledge with others. Try your best to give back to the community when you can. I believe that sharing is caring. Of course, within the realm of your NDAs, don't break that Privacy Disclosure Act, but do share. And I hope to see more bug hunters. I know a couple of Malaysian guys. One very accomplished one working in New Zealand. His name is Yapere. Fortunately, I don't think he's on the call. He's pretty good. I've seen some of his submissions. I think he's a good candidate also to share next finding. But of course, I would like Jubair to also be able to share some the next finding. So yeah, I'd like to wish all of you good night. Assalamualaikum. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.